welcome to my views and news. Today I got some time to have a look at the future course of a Tigray conflict, what is going to happen. In a previous video we had a look at mediation efforts starting from last year. Today we'll have a look at the ongoing stalemate and where are things heading. Is a new war on the cards, and is Tigray government really under pressure in Tigray, and is it likely to make decisions in coming days about armed escalation? Firstly, let's start with recent improvements. While we are discussing the future course of this conflict, let's acknowledge some improvements which were seen in recent weeks, acknowledged by Tigray government. Improvements in terms of humanitarian situation in Tigray. More aid is starting to arrive in Tigray, food aid, medical aid, fuel deliveries are improving too. Debretsion Gebremichael on a Friday in a public speech in Mekelle acknowledged recent improvements in terms of food aid arriving in Tigray and in terms of fuel deliveries to Tigray. But he said more needs to be done. Secondly, what is the current status of the mediation? There is a stalemate now. It's very clear that the two parties, they are sticking to their positions. We have seen some statements last week rather, which made it clear that no considerable progress has been made since March. In March, humanitarian truce was announced. And after that, slowly African Union, foreign diplomats, they tried to bring the two sides to the table for talks. But it seems that no significant progress in terms of engagement between rival parties has been made. On Thursday, Meles Alam, Ethiopian foreign ministry spokesperson, made it clear that there wouldn't be any immediate resumption of basic services in Tigray. He said the service providers must conduct studies, assessments. After these assessment studies, a decision would be made. Tigray, Debretsion on Friday spoke, and he said that no talks without resumption of basic service in Tigray. So stalemate there. And Tigray spokesperson Getachew 2 days ago denied reports that there was a direct engagement between Tigray and Ethiopian government representatives. It means that stalemate is still there. The reason of stalemate could be mistrust as well. Ethiopian government believes that if everything is opened, if aid is allowed freely into Tigray, if telecom, banking, electricity, all services are restored, Tigray could make a move towards western Tigray, Humra Volka Sagade, and a new military offensive could be launched. Tigray regional government is on the other hand of this position that Ethiopian government is not sincere in steering the peace process towards a logical conclusion. Ethiopian government is weakening Tigray. It wants to continue this siege, and it wants to prolong this siege to make Tigray government given to the demands of Ethiopian federal government, the demands which could be discussed, shared in talks. I think Tigray's recent move to reject African Union-led talks in Tanzania struck a blow to the peace process. People might not agree with me, but African Union was proposing talks in Tanzania. But Tigray voiced its concerns, its opposition, and Tigray said talks should be held under the auspices of Uhuru Kenyatta in Kenya. African Union can be a partner, but talks should be led by Kenya. So that led to slowing down of the progress which was being seen. Now aid is arriving in Tigray, fuel as well, but in terms of engagement, progress is not being made. After Tigray took this position that talks should be held in Kenya under the auspices of Uhuru Kenyatta. What is going to happen now? Ethiopian government has made it clear that it's not going to restore basic services now. It will not accept any other mediator other than African Union. Now, ball is in the court of Tigray. In a previous video, we discussed that Tigray has three options. Firstly, to sit for talks without any preconditions. Secondly, to keep on putting pressure upon Ethiopian government through international community. And thirdly, to start a military offensive. Which option will be chosen by Tigray government? That is the most important question. Ethiopian government is not going to lift the siege. It's very much clear now. The reason could be, as I discussed in previous videos, that the government has a leverage now. It has an advantage over Tigray. It does not want to lose this leverage. The leverage was gained by the government last year in the battlefield. And it does not want to lose this leverage. It wants to dictate terms at the table as well. That is why it will not lift siege. So in a way, Ethiopian government is continuing its offensive on Tigray in the form of siege. Mode of offensive has changed. Ethiopian government is not now launching a military offensive on Tigray. It has laid siege to Tigray. So it's a way of putting pressure upon Tigray. So Ethiopian government is pressing ahead with its strategy to make Tigray give in to Ethiopian government's demands. What is going to be decided by Tigray? Another very important point which must not be neglected is Ethiopian government is extremely reluctant in restoring basic services in Tigray. It has made it clear. How can the government will agree to handing over Volkai Sagade back to Tigray? Will it ever agree to such a proposal? The government is not ready to restore basic services in Tigray. And Tigray is hoping that one day peacefully Western Tigray, Humra Volkai will once again be part of Tigray. I don't see it happening honestly. So what is going to be decided by Tigray regional government? Tigray government is under pressure in Tigray. But this pressure is not very significant. TPLF is still in power and it is calling the shots in Tigray. No alternative political force has emerged in Tigray, which Ethiopian government was hoping last year when it decided against entering Tigray. Back then, government was hoping that people would rise against Tigray regional government. If ever there is a movement in Tigray, it would be anti-Ethiopia movement for secession. I don't think that their is going to be any future of a movement in Tigray with a federalist narrative. Only viable movement in Tigray to challenge a TPLF is going to be, if it happened, is going to be a movement for secession, movement for independent Tigray, which will obviously be opposed by Ethiopian government. So Ethiopian government has not succeeded in encouraging, informing some sort of formidable, some type of formidable opposition to TPLF. TPLF is still in power. If some political movement starts to de-seat TPLF, TPLF will crush it. TPLF will not tolerate dissent in Tigray. We have seen that. Opposition parties are very small. TDF is in alliance with TPLF, you can say. TPLF, TDF are making joint decisions. Opposition parties don't have any significant impact on decision making in Tigray. So though TPLF is under pressure, Tigray government is under pressure, but it's not that it is so much under pressure that it will have to make decisions in just coming hours or coming days. It can hold on for some time. Ethiopian government has all time in the world on its side. Tigray, obviously, it will have to make some decisions. Now, I personally think that right now Tigray is pursuing the policy of putting pressure upon Ethiopian government through international community. And Tigray wants to see the result of this pressure. Can this pressure work or not? If this pressure stopped working, we will definitely see start of a military offensive. The military offensive will not lead to restoration of basic services. Electricity will not be restored if Tigray starts military offensive. Banking as well, telecom as well. But Tigray will have to make decisions to start economic activity in Tigray. And for that, either Tigray needs to deal with Amhara, Afar regions, Ethiopian federal government, or with a neighboring country. Economy cannot remain suspended in Tigray forever. So far it is suspended. No economic activity in Tigray. So Tigray will try to break the siege by a military offensive on Humra Volkaya Sagade to connect with Sudan. It will happen if there is no results due to international pressure being exerted on Ethiopian government. International pressure is mainly in the form of withholding of financial aid, carrot and stick policy, 2 bills pending at US House and US Senate, bills calling for sanctions on Ethiopian government. At the same time, grants, loans being given. International community has not lost hope so far. It says that progress is being made, though gradually, slowly. So I think that right now, Tigray is relying on international community. It wants to see the results of international community's pressure upon Ethiopian government. Once Tigray is disgruntled, it loses hope that international community's pressure on Ethiopian government is not working. We will see the start of a military offensive by Tigray on western part of Tigray, Humra Volkaya Sagade, or some other area. Ethiopian government will not launch a military offensive on Tigray. Why? Offensive is already underway. Ethiopian government's offensive is already underway in the form of a siege. So it does not need to start a new military offensive. Decision will be made by Tigray regional government. Thank you for watching.